Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this kimono high-low top with waistband. As you can see right there on the thumbnail and on the video, you can see it has a V neckline with a chain at the neckline. You can see the belt. I'm trying to show you how I tie this beautiful belt. So you can actually make your belt as long as you wish, but this is what I came out with. So this top is really very gorgeous and beautiful. It's actually a very beautiful top with the waist belt. I so much love this top, so you can see how it looks. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. But please don't forget to subscribe to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for more videos. So right here, I'm using doll face satin fabric, 2 yards of it. But the right fabric for this dress is Duchess. So I will encourage you to make use of Duchess fabric when you are working on this dress. So this is 2 yards I'm making use of. So the next thing I want to do is to open up the 2 yards. So if you open up the 2 yards and fold it into 2, you will have 1 yard. But I'm going to fold it again the second time. That is folding it into 4 times. So after folding it into 4 times, normally we usually use the folded edge as our center front and center back. But this time around, I'm going to use the open edge, the part that is supposed to be for the sleeve. I'm going to use it as my center front and center back. So you can see what I have right there, because this top has a joining at the back and at the front. So I'm going to create my border line of 1 inch right now. So I'm creating 1 inch, 1 inch. That is the part we are going to use as our seam allowance. Then on top, I'll also create another 1 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to rule a connecting line. So I'll just go ahead and rule a straight line on the center front, center back, and on the shoulder line, so we can start taking our measurements. So this is my center front and my center back. So you can see I have 4 pieces of it right there. So the next thing I want to do now is to start taking, this is my shoulder line, and that is where we are going to start taking all our measurements. So now I'm going to take my neck width as 4 inches, neck depth 1.5 inches for the back. I'll connect 1.5 inches to the 4 inches. And then the neck depth for the front, I use 3.5 inches. So I'm going to connect 3.5 inches to the 4 inches width for my front neckline. Now I will take my shoulder, divide by 2. I have 8 inches. And then I'm going to take my sleeve length as long as 19 inches. So you can make it 17 or 18 depending on how long. But I want to use the whole fabric, and I have it at 19 inches. So you can see me highlighting that line. So I will come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead and connect from that 1.5 inches with my ruler to the neckline. That will serve as my shoulder slope. So after that, we are going to take the length of this top. I'll place my tape, and I'm going to measure the front length, which is 17 inches. My shoulder to my waist is 17. I just added 1 inch. So whatever your shoulder to your waist is, just add 1 inch to it and rule your line. That will serve as our waistline for the front. So on that waistline, I'm going to take my waist circumference. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 12 inches. I marked and I added 5 inches to it, because that front piece is going to have some little gathers. So just go ahead and add 5 inches to that waistline. Now after that, I'm going to take everything I have on that waistline, and I'll go over to the hemline, and I'm going to mark the same thing. So I'm going to connect that part right now. So I'll just go with a curve like this, because that is the back part of this dress. I'll connect it with a curve from the hemline to the waistline. So but I just thought of the easiest way of making this curve is just to take your measurement from the center back and divide it by 2 wherever you have your midline, then that is where your curve will start. So that is how I curved it in like that. So now on the sleeve line, I'm going to open up this sleeve with 9 inches. So I opened it up by 9 inches and I went in by 8 inches. So I measured 8 inches inwards and then I placed my mark. Now I'm going to connect from that waistline to the 8 inches inwards on the sleeve. You can see how I connected it. So make sure you connect it this way as well. So now you can see the dress is ready right now for the back and the front. So I'm adding half an inch on the shoulder seam line. So I'll just add half an inch for stitching allowance. So next is to cut out the half an inch I added, and then I'm going to cut only the back neckline. Then we'll go over to the side. I'll open up the folded edge of the sleeve and I'm going to cut all the way down to the curvy part of the dress. So I'm going to take off what I have inside. That will serve as my back so we can be able to cut out the front. So I'm going to add half an inch on the waist and cut out the neckline as you can see. So to make the V neckline, just come in by 1.25 on that neckline and come down by 4 inches. Then we are going to connect the V shape line. So now I'm going to take the 1 inch I have on the V shape line. I'll also add 1 inch as you can see me do. So that is how I created that V shape. So I'll now continue my cutting on the seam allowance on the V shape which I added to meet up with the seam allowance I have done. Then make a notch. Don't forget to make this notch. This notch is very important when we start to stitch. So after cutting out the front right now, the next we are going to do is to separate the 2 front pieces. Then I added 1 inch on the other side as well because it's going to serve as a guideline when stitching this dress. So here I first used a jogger's rope, but I now realized that I have to change it to another fancy rope. So I measured 3.5 inches on my jogger's rope width. So I took the measurement of 3.5 inches, including the seam allowance. So I'm going to place this on the neckline to stitch. So but before that, I came down by half an inch. Remember, we are going to sew our bias rope. I came down by half an inch and I stitched facing the jogger's rope inwards. You can see that. So I'm measuring what is remaining. It should be 2.5 inches remaining. So I marked it on the other side so it will guide me when stitching the other side. So this is how I flip my fabric to stitch the other half an inch. So you just go ahead and top stitch there. So after top stitching, this is what you are going to have. So now we are going to stitch from the part we notched. That is the part we are going to stitch at 1 inch. So I'm going to secure with my pin first. Then I'm going to mark out 1 inch from that part I notched. That is the part we are going to stitch close right away. So I'll go to my machine now and I'm going to stitch that part. So here I'm done stitching and you can see I'm going to open it up right now to give it a good press. So you can see the V shapes right there. So we'll go over to the back right now. So I'm going to place the back right side to right side. And then I'm going to stitch at 1 inch, but the back I'm going to mark 1 inch as well. So but remember we have a loop at the back, so I'm going to mark 4 inches for my loop and leave the loop space open. So I'll just mark that part and my bias, I will use my bias to create the loop. I measure 2 inches of my bias. Then I'm going to fold it this way and twist it the other way, face it inwards and come down by 1/2 inch and top stitch. That will serve as my loop space. So I will do that on the machine right now. So here you can see I'm done adding the loop, and this is how it looks like. So I gave it a good press. That is why you see it relaxed the way it is. So next is to face right side to right side of this dress. So I'll just go ahead and face right side to right side. I'm going to stitch the front and the back piece on the shoulder line by 1/2 inch. So I'll sew 1/2 inch all the way down. So I'm done stitching and I gave it a good press. This is what I got after I stitched and pressed it down. So you can see everything is looking fine. So but I now decided to change my rope to a rhinestone rope. Okay, this is rhinestone rope. It's a fancy rope anyway, so I just thought of using it. It will make it to have a better effect. So I removed the joggers rope and placed my rhinestone rope. So you can see the rhinestone rope right there, looking so beautiful. So I'm going to use my bias to turn the neckline. Of course you know how to go about it, but I'm going to fold in 1/2 inch like this and place it in front and sew round to where the loop stops at 1/2 inch. Then I'll just go and sew right away. So this is what I got after sewing on one side. So the next, right now, I also came in at the end of it. So I'm now going to fold it in. You know how we sew our bias. That is exactly what I'm doing right here. So I'll go to the machine now and finish it up. So I finish it up on the both sides and you can see what it looks like. So now the next thing we are going to do is to cut out the belt. So for the belt, you actually need a width of 10 inches of the belt and the length of 72 inches. That means you are going to cut out your belt from a fresh 2 yards of Dutchess. Okay, then you use the remaining part that remains for another project. So from that folded part, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divide by 4 and I added 1.5 inches to it. So just go ahead and add 1.5 inches to it. And the width of this belt is 5 inches. So I marked 5 inches to that point. That is the width of this belt. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go back to the end of the belt, arrange the end of the belt very well, and then we are going to mark from that end 3 inches and make a curve to it. So I'm going to show you so many styles of your belt. This is the first style. Then the next one is to come in by 1.5 inches and make a slant line and connect it to the 3 inches width on the tail. But now I decided to reduce this on the tail part of it by 2.5. So I now connected from 2.5 to the 5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and cut it down, as you can see. So I want the end of the belt to be a little bit tapered. So that is why I made it 2.5 inches. So this is how I cut this part. Make sure you cut this part the way I'm cutting it. Then you add 1/2 inch on this part. That is what we are going to use to achieve that result. So I'll make a notch at the center front as well. And next, I'm going to turn the belt to the wrong side and stitch to the point I notched. So I'll turn it to the wrong side, as you can see. And from the part I notched, I'm going to stitch from the tail part of the belt. I'll stitch at 1/2 inch on both sides, leaving the center part open. So you can see I'm folding in that part to turn the belt from the center piece. So I'm turning the belt right now. So after turning the belt, I'm going to give it a good press. Then I'll also turn the other part of the belt as well. So I'm done turning and I gave it a good press and I left this center part open with the notch at the center. So we are going to stitch at 1/2 inch to it. But before we do that, the front piece, we are going to gather it into what we have on the length of the belt. So I'm done gathering it, and this is what I got. So I have to measure to be sure that the part we are going to stitch aligns perfectly. So here you can see it's aligning perfectly to that part. So I gathered the waistline to match up with what we have on the belt. So after ensuring that they are matching together, next is to close the side of this dress, and I'm going to stitch the sides. But before I stitch the side, please don't forget to gather the sleeve area. And I made a cuff of 3 inches width, 3 inches width, and the length is 12 inches. Unfold is 3 inches and the length is 12 inches. So I have to place it this way to stitch half an inch. So just stitch your cuff this way. You can see how I placed it on a vertical line. Then later, after stitching, I'm going to turn the cuff. So here is my cuff right now. You can see how I'm turning it right away, and that is how I'm going to sew it into the sleeve after joining the sides. So we'll now go over to join the sides of this dress, but make sure you measure the same 12 inches on the gathered part, because after joining that part, that is exactly what we are going to use to stitch the cuff. So I measured the both sides of the sleeves I gathered to be sure I have it at 12 inches. So I'm going to close the size of the dress right now. I will take it at half an inch, then to 1 inch. Please don't forget to leave half an inch in front. I emphasize, don't forget to leave half an inch in front, because that is what we are going to use to attach the belt. So I'll make a notch at that point, as you can see, and make a notch on the curvy part of that to free that part. So I'm going to fold or hem the down part of this, the back dress. So now we are going to sew the belt right away. So I'll now bring in the belt and sew the belt from that half an inch I left at the down part of this. I'm going to use it to join my belt. So of course, when working on this project, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I pinned the center front to the center front of the dress, and I aligned my gathers to match up to the end of this dress. So you can see right now I'm done stitching. This is what I got. So this technique is really very beautiful. So the next thing we are going to do is to sew the cuff. So here is the belt, and the belt and the band is ready. You can go ahead and give it a good press. So now we want to go over to the cuff, which we have prepared right away. So you will now go and hem. So don't forget to hem or serge that part, whichever way you want. Now we want to attach the cuff. So I'm going to turn the dress to the wrong side. This is my cuff. I'll turn the sleeve to the wrong side and insert my cuff inside it like this. I'll insert it and make sure the seam line of the cuff matches with the seam line of the underarm. Then I'm going to stitch at half an inch all around. I'll do that for the both cuffs. So here I'm done. I'll turn the dress again to the front so you see the finished outlook. So you will now go over to your serger or your weaving machine and weave all the rough edges. So this dress is actually very, very beautiful, as you can see. So you can see what we came out with. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew my button at the back, and that is how we'll come to the end of this tutorial. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. Turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this, and share to family and friends. Thank you for watching.